Reports just reaching us now is that the house of the President of the Senate, Bukola Saraki, has been besieged by men of the Nigeria police. The siege on the President of the Senate House was carried out to prevent him from appearing before the police this morning. Saraki was invited yesterday by the police to answer to allegations against him in connection to the robbery in Offa. His deputy, Ike Ekweremadu, is also under siege by the DSS and EFCC operatives. We'll bring you details of this subsequently. Now to our discussions from Lagos and our Abuja studios. We have Abiodun Showumi, who is a media analyst as well as a political analyst. You're welcome to the show.
I'm pleased to be here.
Now, with this development, we read from the papers yesterday. We saw the story where the IG ordered the appearance of the Senate President to answer to the Offa robbery incident, and now we are hearing the breaking news reaching us is that his house has been besieged. What do you make of this?
Yeah, when I read the story yesterday that Saraki was invited by the IGP to report 8 a.m. this morning, I felt it was a good thing. Nobody should be above the law. Nobody's above being interrogated, irrespective of the allegations or your status in society. It's not a proof of guilt of any offense. You can only be guilty under a law if the court pronounces you as guilty. But what I found strange is, why would you invite somebody to appear 8 a.m. today, and by 7 a.m. you are obstructing him from appearing? I don't seem to understand that. The logic seems not clear. Why would the police invade his house? He has his police security men, so it's obvious that if they are illegal police officers, his own security heads would have cleared them off the road or called for assistance. So it's obviously coming from, the IG. Nobody would do that to the Senate President without the IG's authorization. It's so clear. But the logic is still what I don't understand. Right, you want the man to appear, to be interrogated, and at the same time you're obstructing his appearance. I don't understand.
All right, let's go to Abuja studio. We have Shehu Gabam, the National Secretary of the Sdp', in our Abuja studio. I'm sure you heard the breaking news we brought to you, although we're going to bring subsequent reports on that story. The DSS besieging the House of the Senate and his deputy. What do you make of this before we go into our discussions for today?
Well, this is really a very bad situation for the country. When I just saw it, I was heartbroken that in a country that is being governed by the rule of law, in a country where the security agencies yesterday issued a statement inviting the Senate President to appear for whatever questioning, only for us right now to hear that his house has been besieged by security agencies. For whatever reason, we don't know, because the timing of the invitation for the interview, I believe, is still on. And for the police to go and invade his house, I think it called for caution. And I believe, as a nation, we must do all we can to protect this political structure. A lot of people labor so hard to lobby and convince and fight the military to go back to barrack in order to take away dictatorship. The sense of rationalism should play at all times. When we allow primordial and parochial issues to take over our sense of unity, our sense of purpose, our sense of togetherness, it means democracy is in danger and virtually everybody is in danger. There are a lot of security issues in this country that the government needs to have focused on, not individualism. If an individual commits an offense, it should follow the natural process, a civilized process, in a way and a manner that we will feel dignified as Nigerians. And therefore, I call on the President immediately to look into the issue in order not to overheat the political system. We are already overstretching the political space. A lot of things are ongoing. I appeal to the President as a matter of urgency that whatever we can do as political actors and leaders, we must be cautious. We must look at our dignity as a people. Bukola is the number 3 citizen of this country. And whatever we can do to protect that institution, the sanctity of that institution, is absolutely very, very critical. Whatever internal crisis that is going on within the APC politics, they should do it decently in a way and a manner that it will show some sign of maturity, some sign of decency, and some sign of defined leadership that characterize who we are as a people.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gabam. We will stay on this particular story as it evolves. But in the meantime, let's come back to the topic of the day. I'm sure that there's this kind of excitement I see in your camp, that's SDP, ahead of the Osun State governorship election. But having said that, people would say that what are your chances in terms of SDP putting up a strong showing? Some have described your party as, oh, a dumping ground where if you fail in PDP or if you fail in APC, just find refuge in SDP. Is that the case with Osun State?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think let me remind you that when we fuse into SDP, we define what we want to do, a very clear definition and processes. And we have told Nigerians that we'll go into direct primaries, and that's what we implemented in Osun State. And I think you should know that we have registered over 216,000 members of SDP in our own membership book, and out of them, more than 138 went and casted their vote through PVC regulations. And if you look at the number of people that have voted for SDP, that is the candidate of SDP, about 100 and something thousand. If you put together the vote of the APC and then the PDP, Omisore have outnumbered them by far in terms of the result of the primaries. And therefore, what happened in Osun is a demonstration of competence, is a demonstration of acceptability, is a demonstration of versatility, is a demonstration of sagacity that a man has, the man knows his state very well. He has been in the state for quite a long time. He won his election as a deputy governor while in detention. And of course, his name is a household name, not just in Osun State, but also in Nigeria. And therefore, there's no surprise to the fact that his popularity is raging. And out of the three of them so far that are competing, you find out that already the candidate of PDP at the match is full of a lot of crises. Your station have shown those crises. And somebody emerged who is a dancer as a governorship candidate of a party in the states that is well endowed, or the APC candidate who emerged as a sort of godfatherism. If you look at our own candidate, Omisore, is a purely politician, devoid of any godfatherism, is a self-made man, very strong, very versatile, very courageous, and he has served this country very decently, very humbly. And of course, we expect nothing short of a victory in Osun State. It's not as if we are unconscious of the issues that are on ground, but it's reality that have played out. I think the state is tired of mismanagement, where government that have been in place have not been paying salaries of workers, and so on and so forth. It's the same apply to Ekiti, why Ekiti was lost, because workers has not been paid salary. So reality have to play out in most of these areas. And I can tell you that the next election of 2019, people are not focusing on parties. People are focusing on individuals, capacity of individuals to deliver. That is what is going to play a role in 2019. People will focus on the capacity of individuals to deliver the dividend of democracy, to rescue this ravaging poverty that have taken over all our cities.
Gabam, let's come back to our Lagos studio where Biodun Showme is with us right here. Now, from what happened in Ekiti State, we've seen that it was two major political parties that participated more or less in the elections, and we've seen what played out later on. A lot of people, criticized the governor of Ekiti State, the incumbent governor, of crying more than, or let's say, advocating for his party, who happens to be the deputy that was going to be the aspirant for under his party. Now, in this Osun State election, we see more than two parties participating. We see the ADC, the Africa Democratic Congress. We see the SDP, the Social Democratic Party, the PDP, and the APC. Do you see this election in Osun State more competitive than that of Ekiti State?
Oh, yes. It will not be a two-horse race in Osun State. The last time, in 2014, it was just PDP versus APC, ACN then. It was clear. All the other parties were just fringe parties. But we've seen some movement. If you look at the political demographic change in Osun today, it's been occasioned by factors. One, which is the problem the state government is facing in fully paying the workers their salaries. No doubt the governor has tried his best. He did some projects. He has tried to impact on the people using Human Development Index. If you are to look at education, and he's made some efforts, no doubt. But the fact of the matter is the inability to fully pay salaries running into years will play up in that election. And that has weakened the support base of the APC. It has also served as an encouragement to the opposition parties. When you look at the results of the last 2014 election, the ACN then, led by Ogbeni Aregbesola, managed to win by about 120 votes, 20,000 votes. And this time around, the party may have lost some grounds. But the advantage which APC will have now is that you have a divided opposition. And for instance, in PDP today, you now have Akin Ogunbiyi challenging Adeleke, Senator Adeleke in PDP, and they both seems to be controlling the party in half measure. So when you ask yourself, where are they going with that? Will Ogunbiyi get the ticket and stay, or will he not get the ticket and leave? No one knows. You also in SDP, you know, unlike what my colleague said, they also have their own problem. There's a UK-based lawyer, Kehinde Atonda, who initially was declared as the winner of a faction of the SDP.
They and was the former deputy governor of the state.
Precisely. There was a court injunction which barred Omishore from, you know, getting involved, arranging the convention, which they did. So the court-recognized convention was the one Atonda emerged from, which the Omishore factions refused to participate in. Now you have a new faction backed, you know, also backed by INEC, you know, attended by INEC also. Both factions were attended. And then you have the national leadership of SDP backing Omishore, with Omishore emerging. What the court will do on that, we don't know. So there are a lot of uncertainties around that. You have a third force, you know, from the ADC, which was believed or is believed by many people to have been inspired by the former president, Olusegun Obasanjo. You have an arrowhead there also, a very strong politician in the state, Olagunsoye Oyinlola, who in any case would do anything to strengthen ADC. So Oyinlola's faction will be coming out of APC. That will weaken APC on its own, but then you are likely going to have a party seriously contesting for that election. The APC candidate, Alhaji Oyetola, a very good man, very gentle, nice, hard-working man. The variables in the state, how it will play out, no one knows. The extent of people's feelings, whether you do conduct direct primaries like SDP and APC or indirect primaries, will not be the issue. The issue at the end of the day is what is on the table of the people, you know, the food. How will the people feed? Who can move Osun forward? But
do you consider that the fact that Gboyega Isiaka Oyetola is the chief of staff to Governor Rauf Ogbeni Aregbesola, do you consider what happened in Ekiti State, like I referred to earlier, do you see them as stooges?
I don't think Alhaji Oyetola I would never consider him as a stooge. Yes, he's still the chief of staff, or he was the chief of staff of Ogbeni. The fact of the matter is, what will play out is the stronghold of the two political parties. Don't forget that the SDP candidate, Omishore, as he stands today, is from Osun East, which is the Ife area. Then you have Rauf Aregbesola, also from Osun East, Ilesha. So it's going to be a battleground. They are likely going to split the votes there. What would happen is PDP probably will take much of the votes in Osun West because of the Adeleke factor, if Adeleke eventually remains the candidate. So Central will decide who will get what at the end of the day. Alhaji Moshood Adeoti, the SSG, has also left APC, you know, to another party, to ADP, I think.
ADP.
ADP, yes.
He moves to ADC.
To ADC.
That's the African Democratic Congress.
Democratic Congress. So what we're likely going to see is that the Central will determine, and that's where you have the biggest vote. The Central will determine, it depends on where the Central is going. That is what will tilt the balance. So if you have Osun East badly divided between APC and PDP, then maybe other parties
sorry,
like...
show me, before we go into the demographic, because we want to get back to Abuja, you know, you've gone into demography. Going back to our question,
Yes.
this other factor that has to do with godfatherism that Mr. Shehu mentioned, is it not going to be a factor? He also mentioned it that APC, it was a case of godfatherism. You know, the direct primary just came up probably at the 11th hour, and some people are saying this was, you know, brought up to shortchange other aspirants.
No, the case of Osun is totally different from Ekiti. Ekiti is just one people, Ekiti people, and that's all. And then what you don't really have godfathers and all that in Ekiti.
No, I mean in Osun now.
In Ekiti, I know. Okay. In Osun State, it's a totally different problem. You've always been having people holding on to their own base. They are more socially conscious, more ethnically conscious. In Osun State. So you have Oyinlola, it's given that you will control the votes in your area. And that is how the people in Osun behaves. Don't forget, it's very complex. It's not just one Ijesha people. You have the rivalry also. The traditional rivalries are there. The traditional loyalties are there, which you don't have in Ekiti. So all those factors will come to play in Osun State in deciding who gets what. But the bottom line is where the central is going that will determine it. It is not religion in any form that will determine what happens in Osun.
All right.
In Osun State.
Let's cross over to Abuja studio. Shehu Gabam, as the secretary of the PDP, you would have a lot of information concerning SDP rather. SDP, you have a lot of information concerning your party, and it looks like when elections draw near, a lot of factions or aggrieved members of the party decide to have different factions. Now, from your party, there are two candidates that have emerged as the candidates for the coming gubernatorial elections. That's Munuruddin Atanda and the former Deputy Governor of Osun State, Senator Iyola Omishore. Why do you have factions, and why do you think SDP has a chance in the elections?
Let me thank you most sincerely. First, let me advise my colleague over there that it is dangerous to speculate. He's not factual at all, and he have no reason to speculate. Number two, he should have sought for facts before speculating. We don't have faction in Osun State, absolutely no faction. We have conducted congresses before these primaries, and the new leadership emerges. Number two, yesterday we have issued a certificate of return to Senator Omishore in Abuja. It was well covered, including this station that I am. And we have written letter officially to INEC, the candidate that have emerged in Osun State. There is no faction, absolutely. It's in the imagination of the minds of those who think there were factions. There was no faction, absolutely. You know, Omishore emerged by wide gap, 100 and something thousand votes, you know, which is far by people who scored 1,000 and plus vote. Both of them scored about 1,600, another 1,800. Omishore emerged with 120 something thousand votes. So there is no rivalry, absolutely no rivalry, and there was no faction. Let me advise some of these commentators to be factual, not to pick stories on the pages of newspaper or somewhere else that is not reliable at all. So I'm speaking as a national secretary of SDP that there is no faction, absolutely. And we have even set up appeal committee for those who are aggrieved, who felt justice was not done. They don't come and meet the appeal committee. There was nobody that came. Everybody is satisfied. And the result was announced there. And let me say this also very clearly, that INEC attended our primaries. Security agencies attended. There was no INEC presence in the so-called any faction anywhere. And we have no record of any attendance of INEC officials there. And you can cross-check just facts. So I believe that when we are before the world talking about issues, we should be factual,
okay.
not to generate issues that do not exist at all.
Okay,
Number three, let me say that we are very, very confident, like I have said. The candidate...
Okay, can I ask you this? Since you said there is no faction, can you tell us what Mr. Atanda is saying? And some people will also, part of the speculation is that, part of the speculation is that why do you have to even publicize, you know, giving return, certificate of return to a candidate? Because that is usually very popular when you win election. But now this was publicized probably to send the message across that this is our candidate and this is our legitimate candidate. So do you accept that one Mr. Atoda is laying claim as the candidate of SDP?
Any claim about Mr. Atanda, I've not received any complaint from him. The party have not received any complaint from him. Number two, we give certificate of return to our candidate in Ekiti State. It was also publicized widely. All media organization covers it. So it's not something that we are doing that is new. You know, it is our policy in the party to take very firm positions, very decisive positions, so that everybody will know a very clear position. We don't want to be prostituting over issues that are very clear, that are very factual. I came from a background where there's a lot of crisis in the party that I was before. And of course, we have to bring some sort of a paradigm shift in what we are doing in SDP. You know, we are being governed by a lot of ideas and knowledge and experience in managing the SDP of today. So whatever we are doing, we make it public. We make sure that public have information about what the party is doing. We have nothing to hide. We don't have time to cut corners. These are factual issues. And like I've said, the gap is too wide, you know, for anybody to imagine that whether the party have taken side or not. We sell forms, and both of them came to Abuja and purchased those forms. And when Senator Omisore came to purchase his form, there are also media presence there when he was purchasing those forms. So we had a presidential aspirant who declared in SDP about 2 weeks ago. It was covered massively by media as well. So it's not about we are trying to advertise a candidate or that we have taken side or otherwise. Absolutely not. We want to make sure that whatever we are doing is going to be very transparent, it's going to be very open. And if there are any issues, any litigations, we have the capacity to deal with them. We have the diplomatic machinery to handle some of them, including internal mechanisms to listen to people's issues or grievances and so on and so forth. So this should be very clear. And if the man has any issues, he can come to Abuja and, the appeal panel is there. They are running up their sitting today. And we have written him letter officially notifying him about it, both of them. And one said he has no any issue at all, the other candidate. So those are the facts on ground.
You have tried to explain what SDP is doing. You've said you only have, there are no factions in your party. But we'll come back to you in just a bit. Let us hear from Abiodun Shewumi here. It looks so difficult for people to accept defeat, especially the runners-up. We've seen that happen in the past. Even in the Ekiti elections, we're hearing PDP saying that they won't accept the elections. In the PDP, as it were, in Osun State, we have seen this faction, Akin was saying that he won't accept the elections. And before this was clarified by the secretary of the SDP, here we saw these two people saying they're not agreeing to the elections. Why do you think it's so difficult to get runners up in this?
It's quite very interesting. Remarkably, I know all the contestants. Personally, all of them who are contesting.
Are you from Osun State?
No, I'm from Ogun State. The remarkable thing is, what I find very astonishing is how politicians embark on what they call self-deception. When you deceive yourself, you pretend something is not happening when in reality is happening. In Osun State today, the chairman of the state party went to court of SDP. The case is still in court. An injunction was granted. And another convention was, what do they call it? Congress was conducted. Somebody emerged. The court injunction on this very one that produced the one Mr. Gabam is supporting, was done in defiance of the court injunction. And how do you say that you don't have a split? There's a split. Obviously, there's a split. I'm not supporting any of the parties. The point I'm trying to make is that all the opposition parties within Osun State are also badly divided. Apart from ADP, where there is no other person challenging them. So nobody's sure who at the end of the day will be the candidate, because in the case of SDP, it's up to the court. They've gone ahead with that convention in defiance of the court. So we don't know what would happen. In the case of ADC, that is the only one that I know. I don't know of any other person challenging Adeoti over. In PDP, you have Akin Ogunbiyi, challenging Senator Adeleke. You also have people grumbling within the APC, over the election of Alhaji Gboyega Oyetola. So those are the facts on the ground. Whether politicians want to relate to it or not, I am not a politician. I only relate to the facts on the ground. But at the end of the day, what will play out in Omisore is a very strong candidate, no doubt about it. He has huge followings, he's moving to SDP. You also have PDP, they still have their structures, within that state. And no doubt, Adeleke is also very strong.
Mr. Shehu, because of time, we are already pressed for time. Let me quickly get his reaction on these as a parting comment in Abuja. Mr. Shehu, are you still there? I'm sure you are itching to quickly respond to this. He's not just talking to you, he's saying politicians live on self-deceit. Can you just quickly react to this? And you have just 1 minute to round off your comment from Abuja.
Well, he has already sounded like a politician, operational one, based on his analysis. So he's a politician. Number two, maybe he's in possession of the court injunction. We at the Secretariat, we are not in possession of the court injunction at all. And we are law-abiding citizens. If there is any court injunction, we will not go ahead with it. I want to assure him that we are not in possession of any court injunction. If he has one, then he can produce one. We have not seen one as SDP. I know what is going on that issue, and he should find out before saying there was a court injunction restraining the exercise. There was none, please. This should be very straight. And I want to appeal to some of these commentators who are politicians, taking cover that they are not politicians, to always allow system to go on, not trying to create some unnecessary scenarios. Like I said, it is clear that our candidate is Omisore. We have no faction in Osun State. If there are factions, if there are courts, if there are injunctions, the court knows where to direct those injunctions to be served. And it will be served, the party will be served. And we have not been served so far of any court injunction restraining us from carrying out our legitimate exercise as a political party. Number two, I have no doubt in my mind about the capacity of Omisore. I'm a politician. I've been to every state of the Federation. I virtually know all political actors in every state of the Federation. So I'm not a novice when it comes to this game. And I know that Osun is going to be very tough. I know where the competition is coming from. And I'm very, very strong about my candidate that have emerged, or the candidate of SDP that has emerged. I'm very confident that at the end of the day, he will win this election.
Very much.
Thank you so much, Shehu Gabam, the National Secretary of the SDP in our Abuja studio. Thank you for your time with us on the program. And just to get your parting shots from Lagos, Abiodun Shomi, how would you, this election is on the 22nd of September. We have 2 months, barely 2 months to the election. How do you see the preparations going? Tougher or smooth, easy?
Yeah, I think INEC would need to get their logistics right because in Osun State there are so many rural areas and the terrain is not too conducive. In some places you have the hills and all that. They need to ensure that many people are able to cast their votes, as many as possible. The political parties, they need to play by the rules, and comply with the rules of the game. What is very clear is that Osun will not be a one-party race. It will be highly contentious. The fact that the oppositions you now have very strong 2 or 3 oppositions. You are likely going to be unable to predict what the result will be. The ruling party itself would face a major challenge. Omisore is a formidable factor. Same thing with Senator Adeleke, very, very formidable. So it's going to be very interesting, for watchers like me.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Abiodun Shomi, a political analyst and not a politician. Actually, so thank you so much for your time with us on the program.
It's my pleasure.
All right, we'll take a break at this point, and when we come back, we have some sports for you. Please stay with us.
We acknowledge the fact that there are people with genuine complaints. For such people, we are ready to listen, we are ready to act on the basis of justice, fairness, no arrogance, and inclusion. I remain committed to those. However, by principle, on principle, I do not deal with political mercenaries. That remains my position. I will not miss my sleep because a lot of these guys cannot, on a good day, deliver their unit. If the minister refuses, we will suspend them from the party. You know, we must return to internal discipline. For me, it is the height of mischief for any minister. You cannot purport to be honorable minister and you act dishonorably. And nobody is greater than the party. And if the president condone disrespect for his office, I will not condone disrespect for the party. And when we expel a minister, we will prevail on the president. He can't keep in his cabinet people who have neither respect for his own decisions nor have respect for the party, without which they will not have been minister.
Yeah, welcome back. It's still News Hub, and we have in the studio Jide Alabi. Maybe let's talk a bit of, we've left politics. Let's talk a bit about politics in sport. I understand Pinnick is back.
Definitely. It has to be back. Because
The World Cup is over.
the World Cup is over, definitely. But it has to be back. And it has to
No, I mean, it's back as the
In the glass
authentic
house.
chairman in the glass house.
Yeah, because the federal government recognizes the fact that we are signed to FIFA. And one